Good morning, Rabbi Isai. You're the Nishmas Yosef Mordechai. Never gets old.
Do it again.
Shalom Aleichem. We have a choshev guest, Rebenti Cohen from Muncie-ish. Yon Rothman, Menachem Taparovich's, all of us Shalom's friend from that shkuna. Okay, Shalom Aleichem. Rabbi Isai, here is the edited version of our very favorite email writer. Now it's in video form. He once said a joke. He tried to say it over. We had to cut that out for a second. And then he mentions a very, very, one of the G'dolei Adar actually, but we had to cut that out also. And here it is. Uh-oh. That's me. That's me.
Hi, this is Yael Doubled. I haven't had much time to send an email lately, so I'll send this to Yosef. Maybe this will suffice. Baruch Hashem, my oldest daughter got engaged. The most wonderful boy in the world. Hanan Yaakovson of Jackson, formerly of Borough Park, formerly of Bnei Brak. I had to find a family that does not listen to MDY, so they didn't hear the joke. Anyway, a few ha'aras. I seem to be always a few daf behind. I don't listen to my own advice, but I'm finally finishing the Seder now. Another ha'ara. Eli, you talked about the white man who killed that black man on the train. I saw the picture. He's not white. He's off-white. And finally, dopamine up there. It's over 4 weeks. I finally got rid of YouTube from my phone. The Zechar always said I needed to MDY, but I discovered all daf that has 1.5 speed and holds my place. So Baruch Hashem, my life has been very different the last month. Less dopamine, and I even have time to listen. Great, almost on a daily basis. Mazel tov again to the Doubled family. And mazel tov to the whole MDY community. Chasna will be on Yud Dalit of, right after Tisha B'Av, Tuesday, Paris, Rivka, and Borough Park. Whoever's around, please come in and say mazel tov.
Which was after? Shkoyach. This, Rabbi Isai, is from Reb David address. I was very nispal. He told me he spent over 25 hours per shir. He's giving you Hilchah Shabbos. And he said,
this is what I've been working on.
Pictures, animation, zachen, and all this.
And trying to emulate your style of shir.
Shkoyach Reb David. Anyway, I thought it's beautiful. Well, yesterday in this hot seat we had Reb Eli Kaufman from Muncie also, and he told me an amazing thing. He said that since watching the shir, he got a chizuk that he says korbanos. We were talking about the chashivas of korbanos. He'll never daven mincha, even mincha, without saying korbanos first. If he comes late to mincha, he'll find another minyan. And I realized then and there, and I heard it just even yesterday, somebody wrote to me that because of shir, he says he's more makbid on a volotzion, etc., etc. The idea is to apply what we're learning. And that's what's choshev. Many people, and as he told him, I was looking around the Beis Medrash in the second minyan. I think every single person in the Beis Medrash stands during Chazar Shatz because of something that we discussed. It's not just learning the Gemara and Weiter gegangen, it's learning and applying what we learn. So Be'ez Hashem, I want to put it into my little spiel in the Akdama de Masechta of what's so chashuv about Daf Yomi, because people are taking, even if it's a small thing, like Reuvain Tukotsky once wrote that we were talking about benching with a covering on the head. And he said, ever since then, he's makbid to wear a hat and jacket during benching. Small thing. Some people shunai mikro, whatever it is. Life-changing things as small as they are. Life-changing. Yishkoyach Rabbi Kaufman. Rebelli. I believe the correct English word for zrizus is alacrity. There you go, alacrity. 3 people sent in, even Reb Fischel. Alacrity. Shlomi Klein sent that in. What? Lubavitcher?
It's in a song. It's in a Lubavitch song. Right?
Oh, it's in a Lubavitch song. Alacrity. But how? Even if it's a word, do people ever use that word? Are you supposed to use it?
Yeah, people use it.
Not the people I know. I've never heard it. Dr. Meir Wickler from Borough Park. And here is our good friend Jonathan Stefansky with K45. Doesn't even have a name anymore. These are just numbers. In Yiddish, retroactive clarification can be translated to retroactive clarificatia. Yeah? Clarificatia is the way to do it. And finally, a very, very long email. We don't have time to read the whole thing, but it's from my cousin. I have a Lubavitcher cousin, Baruch Tzvi, And he says, you mentioned RTC. I wanted to say RGC, which is tremendous gratitude. They have this Urim. He wrote a year ago. And basically, when you're explaining this week about Chak Toichais and Chak Yerechais, you want an explanation. It stayed with him. There was a Chakika came to mind with previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, whole Zach. I don't even know what to read here. The bottom line is that his youngest daughter, I don't know. Okay, but Kitzer, I love you. You're my mishpacha. I'm saying that to him. Coming Mashiach now. Teres Golda. He was there in Borough Park. And Bekitzer, your Lubavitcher cousin Baruch Shalom Shway. Sorry that I read it, but I'm not going to read it to the Olam. When I came home from Borough Park, I mentioned to my mother, Rachel Bas Yudis Shetichya, may Hashem send the Refoel Shlomo B'Karov. She became very emotional and she said that my grandfather, the devotion, the love he had to Torah, that she remembers seeing your mother at Simchas, tremendous kindness and Achas Orchim. She had from my uncle, B'nai Brak, Bekitzer. His father, Zechar was one of the Gdolim in Lubavitch. He gave me a sefer, he gifted me the sefer by the Borough Park event. Bekitzer is one of the, I mentioned they have a kollel in Lubavitch where the Yungelite, they learn like around the clock or something, many hours a day. So he was one of those Choshev Yungelite. Anyway, here is the kollel sponsored by Anonymous from Lakewood. The Masechta is sponsored by Moshe Banda to thank Hashem that I'm able to thank Him for everything that I have. The sponsor of the month, the Nishmas Chai Bas Yosef. Sponsor of the month, the Nishmas Zechar Ben Moshe. The sponsor of the month, Hashem should open up all the tzinorot bracha for Baruch Tzvi Nissim ben Shoshana Lea. Paras Hayoim, brain intact, unleash your full potential. Should be the Nazik Dusha and tremendous success in all my endeavors. Paras Hayoim, Shlomo and Yael, Fishelis, Liluy Nishmas, Reuvain, Zev, Ben, Refoel, Moshe, Liberman, Uncle Randy on his sheloshim. And the third one, in honor of Refoel the barber, MDY Recruiter extraordinaire. I hope he passes me by, although I will definitely try to make it hard for him. Also, you should find the Shilach B'Karev, Hagam B'Karev, Yadmire, Peretz Chaim Levin, Yishkoyach. Zechar Nishmas, Aron Duvid, halevi, Blobstein, Yortzeit, from Jack and Fagie, Wahrman. Shlomo should have an aliyah. In the art of the month, for complete Refoel, for Chaim Tzvi, Ben Lea, Aboisai, here we go. So, we have a schos. Yesterday we started from a Mishnah, ended by a Mishnah. Today, Be'ez Hashem, I'm going to start by a Mishnah, end by a Mishnah. Tomorrow, I don't know. Not going to happen. Says the official Mishnah, the Heilige Mishnah, sponsored by Eli Friedman, Liluy Nishmas, my dear father, Chaim Avram Shalom Yeruchim Ben Yisrael David Olav Shalom. As we know, a get is a serious thing. It is matir eishes ish to the world. And therefore, hamevi get v'avad imenu. A person brings a get, but it got lost. And that's today's sugya, lost the get. So if mitzoy la'alter, he finds it immediately, kosher. Bimlav, possible. If he finds the get immediately, then he could give it, and if he can't find it immediately, it's possible. What we're going to have is la'alter could be 6 different shitas, what la'alter means. And in the 6 shitas, there's machlokes Rashi and Taisus, what this one means. Then we have a machlokes, who do we paskin like? I suggest that you don't find the get. Because if you do, you'll be in a big tzara. You have to go through all the shitas, and all the machlokes in the shitas, and you're not going to know what to do. V'imlav apostle. Mitzoy b'chafisa, or b'dluskima. So I'm just going to cheat head on. This is a dluskima, some sort of leather canteen. You put it inside this leather thing, pretend that cork is actually a get, or dluskima. The best I could come up with in my imagination, dluskima, because Rashi says it's some box that an old person puts his stuff in. I thought it might be this. Fanny pack. Something like that. Okay, you find that in this, then it has some sort of simon. Look, this guy has a nice simon, it has the American flag on it. You give it. Or, according to Rashi, in Makiroi, if you have a simon, you drop your get, and you have a good simon, you look around, you know, this get, I recognize this get, because it has, I don't know, it's ripped over here, I have a nice good simon, exactly where, there's a piece of tape over here, over a word, I know this is the get. Kosher. Then, I can return it. Says the Gemara, Vriyaminu. Rabba, the Gemara understands later on, this is Rabba asking a question, and he brings a Mishnah. First, a Mishnah, Baba Metzia. We might be familiar with it from our childhood. Matzah Gittin Noshem v'shichruri avadim. If a person, this is a Mamash Mishnah, seems to contradict our Mishnah. If a person finds a get or a get shichrur for a slave, daitiki. What's a daitiki? Daitiki. So here's a daitiki. Not daitiki means dot tehei lemekam. It's a Rosh Tevis dot tehei lemekam. Rashi adds the Liluy, but in the word dot tehei lemekam. Because we know divrei shchimera kichsuvim uchemesurim dami. When a person is on his deathbed, he has the right to say things, and we take it at whatever he says. We do. Again, because we don't want him to go crazy, to lose his mind. He'll figure if we don't listen to him, it might cause him a lot of damage. So what do? Once he says it, we put it in writing. But a shchimera that becomes healthy has the right to take it back. So just because you found a star that says that the shchimera on his deathbed said XYZ doesn't mean anything. You found it. We don't know what happened afterwards. That's part of the story. Same thing with a get, same thing with a shikra avodah. Matanos. Again, a star of matana, v'sheivarim and receipts. All these things were concerned that maybe the husband took it back, maybe the owner of the slave took it back. We don't know. So the Mishnah explains. This explanation is very important to us. Because I'm going to say that what happened was, he wrote it, yes. It was written. It's not a forged document, but he wrote it. He decided not to do it, not to give it. All of them, it makes sense. The one that's a little bit harder to understand is the daitiki. He's dying. Okay, so he didn't give it at the end. He became healthy, whatever it is. So the Gemara, Rabbi's question is from making a diuk. It seems like the only reason, the Mishnah explains, why don't I give it? Because Shani Oimer, I'm going to explain that he decided not to give it. But what if you know for a fact he wanted to give it? It was lost for a year or two, and then the husband comes around and says, hey, give the get to my wife. You found it? Great. Give it to her. Give the get shikhr to my slave. Nice thing. We're inferring. What's the simple answer to this contradiction? That what you're inferring is not such a good diuk. It's not a great diuk. Maybe it means that if you found it right away, you listen to the husband. It doesn't say anywhere that you listen to Lizman Meruba. That was your little knech. Okay. Kapanim Rabbah has a contradiction, and that's what the Gemara is going to answer at the end. It seems from the Mishnah in Baba Metzia. The Gemara is not going to say this answer. The Gemara is going to use this as a taina. That who says that this is a good deal? Omer Rabba, loikashi. Says Rabba. Okay, Rashi just says if Rabba is answering, Rabba probably asked the question also. Okay, it's not the end of the world, but Omer Rabba loikashi kam b'mokim shashiyoros mitzuyois kam b'mokim she'ein hashayoros mitzuyois. In a place where there's a lot of people go back and forth, it's a shul, it's a mikvah, it's the town hall, it's what? Shtiblach. You don't even need shtav, just a bezdin, people come in and out, a wedding hall, shayoros mitzuyos. Then you could say that maybe somebody else dropped a get and it had the same exact names. We're talking about Eish Sishir. You're going to go be matter a woman and there's a far-fetched concern that maybe it's somebody else's. Yoshi did a piece here for Shayoros Mitzuyos. Here we go. Okay. That's Shayoros Mitzuyos. Nachamol? Benny likes it. Just for that he comes. Okay. So the point is that we don't know if it fell from you or fell from somebody else. And if you know for a fact that it fell from you because no buses went by, no people went by, then you can give it back. Says Rabba, I need to add something else. And here it is. There's two conditions. Number one is Shayoros Mitzuyos. A lot of people go back and forth, do not give it back. Even if you have that condition, if you have two Yosef ben Shimon's, the Barmdiger. Imagine, you have two Yosef ben Shimon's, the Barmdiger. The Barmdiger. I got from, what's his name? From Kesher Nafshi. What's his name? Rav Gedalia Miller. He wrote to me, how dare you not? You went to Hasidic Chadorim. You don't know the Barmdiger. Because you have two. His mother's the Barmdiger. The mom is a descendant. Fine. You have two people with the same exact name. I'm thinking to myself, I don't know anybody really with my name. I know a lot of people. I don't know anybody. The closest I ever got to somebody in Prushim that downs with me in the same minyan Vesikin, he's Eliyahu ben Yaakov, but not Eliyahu ben Yaakov David. So imagine what's your name? Avram Tzvi Moshe. How many? You ever met Avram Tzvi Moshe? No. You? No, never. So not only that, it's Avram Tzvi Moshe, and your wife is whatever her name is, Dr. Epstein, Bas Amin, and the Eidim also have to be identical. What are the chances? Says Rabbah, and this is what he's tiny. The only time you need Shi'aris Mitzuyos is when you know for a fact there's another guy with the same name. Okay. So if you have those two conditions, don't get back to get. Otherwise, even if the Shi'aris Mitzuyos, what are the chances that somebody else dropped the get? Because if you don't say these two conditions, Kasha the Rabbah, Ad Rabbah. There's a Kasha, one Rabbah and the other. I thought maybe we could sing a song here. The Ad Rabbah song. Nachman, could you sing Adra? You're just in a bad mood?
No, very bad.
Okay. So let's sing. You sing.
It's not going to be good.
Rabbi Isai, I'm asking you, please, just to get Nachman, please help me out.
It's not going to
be good. Shum Sina. Meyachad achaveiroi cholila Yad Rabbe. Everybody knew. You could have got over this quickly. Ma babalas chaveinu Yad Rabbe Teimili beinu Shenide kol echad Malas mava malas chaveinu Veloy boy chesroino. No. Shenida vekol echad es chaveiro Rabbi Isai V'derech hayoshor ve'oratzui lefonecho v'yahal ya'aleh b'libeinu shum sino Look. You enjoying yourself?
I forgot the pop. Why do you stop? Keep on going.
Nachas ruach eilecho Shieh Yaakov Nachas ruach evnecho. Anyway, on my door in my house, I have this Hasidic piece. Adrabah. What does that have to do with the sugi? I have no idea.
Nothing.
Says Gemara Kashya, the Rabba, Adarabba. Thou Gita the Shtakach Beidino the Ravuna. They brought a get to Rav Huna's Bezdin in order to say that it's kosher, that to verify it, to certify it. So there's something called the hempik. There's also here. Take a look over here. Hempik. Hempik is basically that Bezdin takes a look at the get and they say the edim are good edim, and they certify it on the bottom. They write a line. They say hempik. It doesn't say hempik. It says that it's a good get. Now, there's no davik sivbei b'shviri moso dal roches nahara. It's in a city called Shviri Mosa, Shviri, and it lays on the river of Roches. So it happens to be, even this very day, in all Gittin, it tells you where the river is. The other one gave Yael in the Har Hudson, and this one it's Hudson. In New York, they'll write Hudson. I don't know what they do here in Bet Shemesh. Do we have a Nachal Zavita, Nachal Noam? Huh? They really do that? Yarmut. I don't know, some sort of nachal. Okay. You have to be choishish that maybe, because we don't know for a fact, we didn't hear that there's another couple that has the same name. Same names, same two names as this couple. So says Rav Huna, but there's another concern. Maybe there's another city somewhere that has another name, that has the same name, Shviri, Al Nahar Shviri, maybe. There's a Rosh Chodesh here in Bet Shemesh, came to my house in Purim. He went to Reb Chaim Kanievsky, and he asked, Reb Chaim Kanievsky said, where are you from? So Reb Chaim Kanievsky, he told Reb Chaim Kanievsky, Bet Shemesh. So he says, Bet Shemesh is in Chutz La'aretz. So it happens to be, people took that question, because Reb Chaim used to ask the question, and there's a video out there saying that Reb Chaim doesn't know it's flying. That's one of the rayos. Yes, you're from Bet Shemesh. Bet Shemesh is in Chutz La'aretz. So he told him, he said, well, there's 5 Bet Shemesh. There's a Bet Shemesh in the Dorim, there's a Bet Shemesh in Mitzrayim, there's a Bet Shemesh in Chutz La'aretz. She says, for 6 years I was waiting for somebody to tell me the answer. That's why I asked people the question. That's what he said. The Refoel said. Schultz. Schultz. And what about the answer also?
He answered him.
Okay, so maybe Chaim Schultz. Okay, so somebody else is Mechaven. Chaim Schultz said it happened to him. Okay. There's other, you think that you know about all the Bet Shemesh, there's other ones out there. Says Rav Chizda to Rabba, Puk, go out and be mayin. So this reminds me of a story that they asked the G'daylim. There was a guy that was collecting money, and he was, they sleep in the same place when they come to America. So he mentioned to the guy, he says, I'm going to the big Gevir tomorrow. So he said, I just went to the Gevir. And the Gevir said, he has a bomb kasha and Mesechtes Gittin Daf Zayin. He says, what's the pshat in Rabbi Chana? Why does Rashi say that Rabbi Chana wasn't a shliach? It wasn't his own get, it was a shliach. I didn't know what to say. And the guy says, Mamish bothers me for days and days. So this guy, Gittin Daf Zayin, he opens up the Gittin Daf Zayin, he starts learning and back and forth. He gets to the Gevir, and the Gevir says, you're from Eretz Yisrael? No, maybe you can answer the question. Mamish, I'm learning Gittin Daf Zayin. I don't know, Pshat and Rabbi Chana, Rashi says, he's not a shliach, he's not his own get. So the guy says, no, it's Bavustar Rabbi Kiva Eiger. Eiger says, And he says, what about this on the Chav Zayin? He says, that. The guy was so shocked and impressed, he took out his checkbook and gave him a huge check. So later on, he asked, I think Reb Zilberstein, whoever it was, he said, was that Gnev's Das? I knew that that's where he's holding. I knew that was bothering him. So I prepared the sugya beforehand. I don't know a thing. I never learned in my life. The guy thought I was a huge Talmud Chacham that Pasha that I'm suffering. I need to make a chasana. It's Rabbi Yashiv. Even better. Rabbi Yitzchak Zilberstein's father-in-law. He said, no, Yatziyat Shmai, that you found out what the guy wanted, and Shalom Yisrael, there's like the other story, there's a Magid that was going for a proba, they were testing him out in a yeshiva, and he's sitting on a train, and there's a bacher next to him, the bacher gave him this whole long shtickle Torah on a certain sugi, got to the yeshiva, and they said, no, maybe I have something on this sugi, and he just said over what the guy in the train told him. Siyad Shmaya. Rav Chizah says to Rabba, I know that Rav Huna had this question. He's coming tonight. Be prepared. Let's see what you can come up with. So he says, Rav Huna, I'm telling you right now. Pukvayimbo, we said, Minoch, Rav Huna, at night he's going to come. Nofak, Dok V'ashkach. So he went out, and he actually looked into the sugya, and he found out that perhaps Rav Huna is wrong. When you go to Bezdin, let's say with the shtar halva, and Bezdin certifies it, over here it's the hempik part. You go back to hempik here. There's a hempik certification. This is a good shtar. Who puts out a hempik? A hempik, not the loiva. The loiva couldn't care less. Adrab, he wants the shtar halva to go 5. It's the malva that wants to certify to make sure that's a good shtar. That if you can't find the Edom later on, he'll go to Bez and say, hey, you certified the shtar. So if you find a shtar, it's the malvas. Give it back to the malva. And what's the problem? We're not concerned that maybe there's somebody else with the same exact name. There's another malva. Says the Gemara, this is Rabba's tiny. You have one condition out of the 2. It's shayos mitzuyos. People come in and out of the bezdin day and night for their shtaris, for their inyanim, whatever it is. Vikapashit yachzer. And it says that you should give back a shtar, even though it's shayos mitzuyos. What do? It's a kasha, Rabba on Rabba. The point is because there's nobody else with the same name. There's nobody else with the same name. You can give it back. Shayos mitzuyos is not enough. You need 2 conditions in order not to give it back. Says the Gemara over Rabba Uvdo Bahugito. Rabba himself took his own words seriously. And when he had this exact story, the Shtagach Bei Kitna Bepumbedisa, they found a get by the flax place in Pumbedisa. I just did a little research today. It was very interesting. This is flax. You take the flax and you soak it in water. And the guy on this is a video, he says, Mamish stinks really bad. It's terrible, terrible smell. So you do like the flax is not a good smelling thing. So he found it over there and he gave it back. He said you should give it back. Why? Because let's see this. We'll see in a second. There's two conditions. Certainly you don't have both conditions. Why? It's a factory. And even though there's another couple that has the same exact name as the people in the get, you give it back. Why? You need 2 conditions. So either it's the factory of the flax and there's no shayaros mitzuyos. How many people already go to the factory? No, there's a lot of people because it's the marketplace. So what are you missing? You're missing the second condition. You don't have another Shem ben Yosef, or Yosef ben Shimon. But you do have a lot of people there. The Gemara says the same thing over again. Same question, but from a different place. Reb Zera has a contradiction between our Mishnah that says that if you find the get, you shouldn't give it back. From a Braisa. And he has the answer. In our Mishnah it says, maybe give over the menu if you lose a get, find it immediately, give it to the woman. But if not, don't give it. Ramino, he asked the question from a Braisa. Motza get isha bashok, you found the get. Now listen to these words. These are very important. Over here it says mefurish they could give the get back to the woman if the husband admits. If the husband doesn't admit, don't give it back to anybody. Why? Because if you give it back to the husband will use it as a receipt that he paid up the ksuba. Here, I divorced my wife. Here's the proof that I have the ksuba, that I paid the ksuba because it's back in my hand. Give it to the woman. She's going to get married to somebody else. She says she can't. Don't give it back to anybody. I give him that. That if the husband says mefurish, if the husband is maida, I give it to the wife. It's not a deal. It's mefurish. I feel it's ma meruba. even if it's a very long time later. Sponsored by the Freeman family, by our sisters, Shoshana Lea, Baz Yibal Chaim Pinchas Eliezer, and Chan Etel, Baz Yibal Chaim Pinchas Eliezer. And what's the answer? Like we said on Amud Aleph, there's a difference. If there's a lot of people, you can't use the get because maybe it fell from somebody else. But if there's shares mitzuyois, you can give the get back. And some say it's only like we said in Rabbah that there's two conditions, that there's another person with the name of Yosef ben Shimon. Behind the Rabbah and fits right in with Rabbah. And some say no. Reb Ziri was saying you only need one condition. Sheres Mitzuyas and not Sheres Mitzuyas. The fact that we know that there's another couple with the same name doesn't make a difference. Upliga the Rabbah and they argue Rabbah. Ask the Gemara a very simple question. Bishlami the Rabbah loy omar kirib zero masnistan alim like shriya. So if you look at this, just to make it easy for everybody, in Masechtas Bamid Daf Amud Aleph, that's the mission that we brought a second ago. The beginning of the Gemara, Gittin doesn't fit in with our Mishnah because it says at the end of the Mishnah, and because we're going to say Shani Oimer. It doesn't say that the husband actually said anything. We explain that the husband didn't want to give it, and we ask the contradiction from this Mishnah to our Mishnah. If you find the get, you shouldn't give it back. Over here, it seems like if you infer, you make a deal from the Mishnah, but Metzia, you could infer that you should give back the get. So why didn't Rabbah use the brisa on the bottom, in the blue? The one that Reb Zeri just brought. Because it's much better to ask a question from a Mishnah. A Mishnah on a Mishnah is a great contradiction. A brisa, no, so maybe the brisa is a mistake. So these are not like Shia. My time why did Reb Zeri ask this question from the brisa on the bottom and not from the Mishnah on top? It doesn't say mefurish in the Mishnah anything. That's your diuk. Maybe your diuk will be that if he said, "Give it to my wife," it works. Yes, it works. It's a great deal. Only if he found it right away, but not after a long time. Our question is, if he found it after a long time, do we have a steer from another Mishnah or not? So to answer the stira that Rabbah has, the Mishnah Bava Metzia, it seems like if you find the get after a long time, you give it, you could use it. And now our Mishnah says you can't use it. Very simple. The Mishnah Bava Metzia is talking about, there's a case, Gary, is there a way to just lower it a little bit? Shkoyach. There's a case where a person they found a get. But the Eidim on the get testify, yes, it's our signature. We never signed in our life. How many of you in this room signed on a get? You did? How many times? Once. So you testify, I only signed once. We could all testify, we never signed even once. It's not our signature, fine. But to say that, maybe Dr. Avi Factor signed on 2 Gittin. He's saying before, she never signed in a second get. So now if you found this get, you know exactly whose get it is. There's no concern. That's maybe it's the second get that Dr. Avi Factor signed on. Okay. So what's the chiddush over there? You have a signature. There's Eidim that testify it's a good get, so give it, use it. If you're already going to be choishish that the husband's name and the wife's name are identical to the second couple, so maybe you have to be choishish for 1 out of 1 billion, I don't even know what the math is, that the Eidim also line up. You have the husband and the wife, and the 2 Eidim, Dr. Avi Factor, not from Ramat Bet Shemesh, but Dr. Avi Factor from Los Angeles, together with another Eid that also matches the other Eid, and it's a completely different get. And Dr. Avi Factor has no right to say that that get belongs to this couple, because perhaps the far-fetched chashash of Eishasish here, we're going to be chashash, maybe there's other Eidim that, Kamash will know. You don't have to go that crazy. Vashi Omar, Kigoin de Omar, Nekev Yeshua B'tzad, Ois Ploinus. Picture. If he says there's a hole in the get, right by Dr. Avi Factor's chasima on the bottom, all the way there in the bottom. There's a hole. I'm telling you, it's the size of a penny, I don't know what, and it's right there. So that's called a siman muvak. The havali siman muvak. This is a serious siman. This is not just, like I said over here, this was a shvacha simon. It's a little ripped over here. No. I'm talking about a hole through and through, right? I'm telling you which letter also, what it's touching. That's a serious simon. Move up. There's a Maisa Shahaya. They say it's a Maisa Shahaya. I don't like the story at all. I'll say it anyway. It's not a nice story. A guy, but I'm saying it because of a halacha shabai. A guy found $100 in Letterman Shtiebel. The guy that lost it comes back to the Shtiebel to look for his money, and he sees a sign and says, "Did anybody lose $100?" So he calls up the sign. He calls up the sign, and the guy says, "Yeah." He says, "I'm the one that lost $100." He says, "Oh, guess what? I'm not giving it back. Why? Because the halacha is, if you lose money, you're miyayish. It's my money." So then why do you put up a sign? So I put up a sign because I want to say yishkoyach. Thank you. I think it's a terrible story. Personally, I hate the story. I'm saying it because people don't know that there's no simon to money. Usually, if it's in a bundle, in an envelope, you don't have to give it back. Just don't be mean about it. It's like another mean thing that I mamish don't like is a guy called. This is also Maisa Shaya. A guy calls up. He says, "Hey, did you lose your iPhone?" He says, "Yeah, I lost my iPhone." He says, "Great, because I'm about to break it with a hammer. Here goes. You want to listen?" Boom, boom. Because it's also to have an iPhone. People have done it. Don't be such a. You want to do your tzitkas, but don't rub it in. You know, I found your $100, and guess what? I'm not giving it back. Okay. So you need a simon muvak. V'davke b'tzad is plainness. It's when the simon is exactly next to a certain letter. The havalei simon muvak. The art school uses the word muvak. He says unique. It's a very unique simon. I like that word. Avanekev ba'alma loy. But stam a little hole like mine, a little rip, nothing. Misapkele, why? We have a suffix, and that the Gemara remains in a suffix in Bamitzia. Rav Ashi, who wrote Shas, he also didn't come up with a conclusion. He wrote Bamitzia, and he's here in Gittin as well. And he says, Misapkele simanim either rice, either rabbanon. I have a suffix. Do we use a siman b'doraisa, or it's only the rabbanon? Meaning, if it's only the rabbanon, the concept of a siman, I could trust somebody based on a mark, on a get, is that the rabbanon thing, that would only work in Mammon, says Rashi, because Mammon is hefker, bezin hefker, so rabbanon have the right to say, listen, that $100, I'm taking it from you, I'm giving it to him. They have the right to do it. But they don't have a right to be matereish ish. They can't say, hey, she's not married anymore. I guess, theoretically, they could go back to the Kiddushin and undo that. Okay, but of Kiddushin, yeah. But Rashi says over here, what they're trying to do is saying that this get is a good get. They don't have a right to say that my siman that I said, you can use simanim, works on Aishish Ish. Unless you hold that simanim adari raisa, that the Torah says it's something that you could use, and therefore, you could use it over here. Okay. Rav Chana, Irkas Legita Bemidrasha. Rav Chana says Rashi was only a shliach, and he lost his get in a base medrash. Why does he have to be a shliach? Who told Rashi he's a shliach? So Kiv says over here, I'm stuck into that story before. It sticks in, because if he wasn't a shliach, then we have to believe him sort of. He has a certain amanos. It's only Gzeira. He's the husband. He's saying, I gave the get. You have to, okay. Omar, Isimona Isle Bigave, Itvis Eino Isle Bigave. It's possible either I have a good simon here, well, not a good one. I shouldn't say a good one. That's the wrong word. I have a simon, not a muvak, not a unique simon, a simon, or I have tfius eino. I have tfius ayin. What's tfius ayin? Like we had the other day, that a blind person could recognize a voice. There's voice recognition. There's facial recognition. There's visual recognition. If you say, oh, I recognize Noam Fix, yeah? What does he look like? I don't know. What's the simon? Does he have a scar on his face? No. I don't know. I know that he is, there's a lot of people that are bald. A lot of people are this. So I know what he looks like. You ask me exactly what the simon is, I don't know. I can't tell you there's a hole over here and there's this over there. There's no simon. Facial recognition. There's also visual recognition. And the Talmud Chacham is believed on visual recognition, where an Amaretz is not believed on visual, only because they do have it. Everybody has visual recognition, but we don't trust him. So he says, is it because they trusted me on my simon that's not muvuk, and we hold that it's simonim ad-deraisa, and therefore I could be believed? Or maybe because I just had a physical recognition of this document. And therefore I'm trusted, I'm not going to lie. But a regular person not. So Rebbe Jacobs, one of the Avrechim in the Koil, came to me yesterday and he showed me a ran in Chulin, Daf Tzadik Aleph Amud Beis. Don't ask me how he found it. I asked him, how did you find it? He says, I remember there was such a ran and I searched and I found. The ran over there says that Amoritz is believed b'tviyasayin, an unbelievable ran, I thought. Believed in tviyasayin on somebody else. In other words, Amoritz has tviyasayin just like Talmid Chacham. Talmid Chacham wasn't born with extra abilities to recognize things that Amoritz. No. It's just a question, do we trust him or not? So we trust Amoritz when it's not about him. When he's not biased. If the Amoritz says, this is me. What? Yeah, okay, but this is a little different because you would think, without this ran, I learned the idea of Tviyasayin many times and I never understood it like that. I thought Tviyasayin means Talmid Chacham, yes, Amoritz not. He says, no, even Amoritz, there's certain situations where he's believed. In fact, he's even believed for himself, only beneget himself. I'm saying he could recognize his wife, he could recognize treif, he could recognize when it has to do with only him and nobody else is relying on his tviyasayin, he's allowed to believe himself on tviyasayin. Okay. So the Gemara of him lav possible. If this get wasn't found immediately, it's possible. Torah Rabbanon, and here we go, we have 6 shitas Rabbi Isai. Now, imagine you're in our koilel here, the MDY koilel. You have to know all these 6 shitas balpeh, and for a very long time, because when you do the dirshu test, a lot of times they'll say, okay, what are the 6 shitas? You just have to. So I was thinking, it's kind of difficult, but you see that the Gemara also expects you to know the shitas well. Not only to know well, to know them with the names. Who said what? Here, it says like this. What does it mean that you waited a little bit? You didn't find it right away. What's right away? That a whole caravan passed by, Vitishra, and according to Rashi, and you have enough time to pitch a tent, and according to Taisvus, you have enough time to pull out your picnic and have a Suda. Why? Because says Taisvus, when you pull out your stuff from your bag, what happens? Things start falling out of your bag. You pull this, you pull the napkins, you pull the tablecloth, all of a sudden the get falls out. Okay. How long is that? I have no idea. Figure it out. Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer, and over here the Gemara wants you to remember his name. Reb Shimon ben Elazar Omer, Kedei sheyeh adam omed v'royeh shelo over sham adam. You have some bored guy that doesn't do the daf, has nothing to do with his life, sitting on the stoop, on his chair, on his lounge, and just watching. As long as this guy is watching, he's not doing anything with his life, and he was there for 6 hours, and he saw nobody went by, so you have 6 hours. And the Gemara wants you to remember this also. The V'yashayimrim. Sheloshim adam sham. Nobody was there. Nobody came by. Rabbi Omer, Kedei lichtav es haget. Enough time to write a get. Rabbi Yitzchak Omer, Kedei likroisa. Enough time to read it. Now Rashi says, this has nothing to do with Gittin. It happens to be that Rabbi Yitzchak and Rabbi used the lashon of get because we're in Masechtas Gittin. So instead of saying 5 minutes or 26 minutes, they said, as long as it takes to write a get. It has nothing to do with the sugya. It happens to be, he knew it takes about 26 minutes, let's say, to write a get. I'm just making it up. Our cipher took him, 2 hours to write. So 2 hours, you have 2 hours. If you can find it within 2 hours, then it's good. He could have said 2 hours, but he just stuck it in because we're in Gittin now. How long it takes to read a get? How long does it take to read a get? Not more than a minute or 2. 2 hours and 2 minutes. Now the Gemara goes on. Okay, so this is the 6 shitas. But what if he waited 2 hours and 10 minutes? It's too late. You can't give it back to the wife. But he has a siman, mi'id malav. Then you could give it back. What is it? What's the siman? What is that called, Rabbi Isai? A siman muvak. It's a unique siman. Then you can give it back. But you can't give a siman on the guf hashtar and say, the shtar looks like A3 paper, not A4. Because a lot of stars are written in A3, not in A4. The Amri Oroich, it's long, the guts, short. That's not a good siman. Matzoi kosher b'kis, barniku with a bas. He found it in some sort of siman. It's in a wallet, in a pouch, in a ring. Oishem Matzoi ben Kalov, he found it in his house. He was searching and he found it somewhere between all his stuff. I feel it's my meruba. Even years later, kosher, it's still kosher. Because who put a get in his shelf in his house? Itmar Rabbi Yudam or Shmuel. Halacha shleisha shamadam. The halacha is that as long as the person didn't go by it. So the Gemara says, why don't you just say the halacha is like Reb Shimon ben Elazar, or the halacha is like the Yeshayimrim? Why do you have to tell me what they say? You're supposed to know this stuff. It's too many words. Just say Yeshayimrim, Yud Aleph, and an apostrophe. You don't have to say the whole line. Says the Gemara, Mishum dafchi lahu, because they were switched. We don't know if Yeshayimrim said this or Yeshayimrim said that. So we say the whole halacha. Now, just let's finish this up. One of these things we already said. It's in this leather pouch. Some sort of box that old people use to carry the stuff. He found it in there. That's a great siman. Rabbi Sai, have a wonderful day. Shkoyach, thanks for coming.